everyone, I'm Mila. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the history behind insulin. Yesterday was World Diabetes Day, and this month is American Diabetes Awareness Month. So I thought I'd make a video that was hopefully a little bit different than the normal stuff that I'll be making, and also give you a little bit of insight into this life-saving medication that literally every single type 1 diabetic and maybe even some type 2 diabetics need. Haven't done the research, don't quote me on that part yet about the type 2. I don't know. I'm not type 2. I won't speak for type 2, but like maybe? I don't know. Probably not. We'll see. So yeah, let's get into the video. Insulin, of course, is a hormone that allows you to utilize sugar. In diabetes, that process gets messed up, so for type 1 diabetics, insulin is prescribed. Without it, type 1 diabetics will die. So what on earth happened to diabetics before we were able to use insulin as a treatment? Because we certainly were not always able to do so. So this is going to be a little bit grim of a story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Insulin was first discovered in 1921, which was almost 100 years ago, which is really cool. And before then, diabetics, once they were diagnosed, didn't live very long lives. I think this paper that I got this information from said about a year or two post-diagnosis, and then they were dead. That's a very short prognosis and very sad. So the most effective treatment at the time was a very restrictive diet with very few carbohydrates, and that is not a good way to live. Little content warning here, be mentioning like calorie counting and stuff like that. So I will put like the time up on screen where you can skip to if you want to miss it. Just like a heads up. Okay, so the diets that were prescribed were as few as 450 calories a day. That's not an healthy amount to eat, live off of. The average person needs about 2,000 calories. It's different for men and women and all that kind of stuff, but on average, 2,000 calories a day is what people think of. And so that's just 450 is a lot different from 2,000. So this diet prescription didn't really treat diabetics. It just gave you maybe a few extra years to live. Maybe, if you didn't die of starvation first, because that's not that many calories. So from between the extreme calorie counting and limitations of that whole process, how did we get to being able to use insulin today? How did that happen? Well, it was discovered at first by surgeon Frederick Banting and his assistant Charles Best. They were able to remove the insulin from a healthy dog's pancreas and use it to keep a diabetic dog alive for 70 days. And the dog passed after they didn't have any more insulin to keep the dog alive. Very sad, but research is kind of sad, especially in this time period. Lots of unethical things happened. Just look into it. You'll find plenty. Later, Banting and Best, along with two other researchers, were able to purify insulin, and they were able to use bovine pancreas, so ox and cows and that kind of stuff. A year later, in 1922, a 14-year-old boy named Leonard Thompson was given the first dose of insulin to treat diabetes. The day of his dose, his high blood sugar levels dropped to normal. This dose wasn't pure, however, so he passed away due to an allergic reaction, which is really sad. And then, so that started the research team, of course, working really, really hard to purify it, make sure that, it's safe for people to use. That is important. So, yeah, and they got it to be that way. They succeeded in their goal. They got the insulin so pure that the second dose didn't have any obvious side effects for people, which was great. Soon after those doses began working, insulin began being used to treat diabetes, which is wonderful. So one story that I read told about a ward of children who had diabetes, and They were mostly like comatose, so they were in a coma. Again, very sad. And they were surrounded by their loved ones who thought, their kid's gonna die, which is very sad. Banting Best and their other researchers entered the ward and began administering the medicine. And by the time that the men had reached the back of the ward, the patients near the front of the ward were coming out of their comas, which is such a sweet story. I love this. So this group of researchers shared a Nobel Peace Prize for medicine in 1923, and soon insulin was being mass produced. So that's exciting. The first insulin that we used was porcine and bovine, so think pig and cow. And it worked pretty well, but it did cause allergic reactions, and it wasn't the best fit for people. In 1978, people began to use genetically modified E. coli bacteria to produce human insulin. This process is actually super cool, and I've done something similar in my biology labs, sort of. Basically, what you do is you take a piece of DNA, make it so that it says, like, make this protein. You get the E. coli bacteria to take in this little bit of DNA, and they incorporate it into their own little plasmid, which is their circular, basically, chromosome. It's not really a chromosome, but similar to the way it is in humans. So they use their little plasmid, and then they just start producing insulin, and you can, collect it because there's so much of it, which is really cool. This kind of biosynthetically produced insulin was first sold in 1982. And then, of course, mass markets and all that kind of stuff. That was a thing. Today, there are lots of types of insulins for diabetics to choose from insulin identical or nearly identical to what's naturally found in your body to fast or slow acting insulin. So if you can take some insulin and it'll be gone within 4 hours, or take some insulin and it'll last you a day or however long. There's lots of different time frames for insulin, and very interesting, but this is where it came from. There's lots of ways to take insulin, from pumps like I use, like this one, pens, vials, that kind of stuff. And who's to say what exactly is going to happen in the future? A lot going on concerning treating diabetes in terms of research, which is super fun and interesting to read. So look out for those videos coming in the future, because they will be coming. I quite like to do my research. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to learn more about diabetes from a patient perspective, please subscribe. If you like the video, leave a like. Do whatever it is that you want to do. Make a mark on the video and let me know how you felt about it. I don't know, that kind of stuff. What do you want to know more about? History of type videos. Do you want to know history of the insulin pump, history of I don't know, those kinds of things? What do you want to know? Tell me, let me know. I'm curious. As always, I will see you all in a couple of weeks. Stay healthy. Bye.